Hey everyone, Adam here, co-founder of Braintrust, here with my fellow co-founder Braintrust, here with my fellow co-founder Gabe. For those of you who are new to the community, we wanted to check in and do a little recap of Q3, which was one of the most crazy growth quarters this network's ever seen. What we were always hoping for when we started 3 years ago really came to life this quarter. We have now a user-owned network, talent network, built on Ethereum with a live token. Gabe, you want to run through some of the momentous events we had here?
Yeah, there was a lot of things that happened just in this last quarter. It feels like a year of progress in the last 3 months. But I'll cover kind of like the three, I think, biggest ones. First, like September 1st began with us launching on mainnet. That was something we were essentially building the network and building in private mode, and then launched the token on mainnet at the beginning of September. And what was great about that is all these thousands of contributors that have been working on this project for many times actually had their we actually got the Braintrust token for the first time. So that was really cool. The second thing is that like a few days later than that, we actually did the CoinList community sale. And the goal was really to expand our community globally, and especially to developing countries. And it was incredibly successful from that perspective. I think we had, 22,000 contributors across 122 countries. So I think that was an incredible milestone for us as an organization. And on the third one was, the Coinbase exchange picked us up, I think just a couple of days thereafter, I think on the 15th. And I think as a result of some of that attention and notoriety, the community just took off. We had 13x growth in the community, I think in less than 2 weeks. We went from around 50,000 people in the community to over 700,000 in less than 4 weeks. And what that meant was basically that it was great for the network long term, but also like one of the challenges was like the community kind of got overwhelmed because it would just experience such enormous growth in such a short period of time. We'll touch on that challenge here in a few minutes. But I would say this is great for the network, but in the short term, especially in that kind of first couple of weeks, the community was struggling to just kind of keep up with that pace.
Yeah, it was. It was like 2 years of life lived in 3 months. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So yeah. I'll start with the good and then get to the rest. Yeah. Braintrust is all about connecting talent and clients, and that is measured in dollars spent, right? What we call GSV, gross service value. And so in Q3, that GSV rose 38% from 16 million to 22 million. That means $22 million cumulatively now have flowed from clients to talent on Braintrust, which is pretty cool.
Within that quarter, yeah.
Within that quarter, yeah. 600 new jobs were posted to the network, and we hit, I think Braintrust now has something like 500 clients. New highlights. So Braintrust can serve any client. The network has startups, the network has Fortune 100s. Some of the kind of notables are Albertsons. So if you live on the West Coast, that's a grocery store. McKinsey, the big consulting firm. Solana, which is an amazing blockchain project, rival to Ethereum. Cisco, Honda, BASF. It's just amazing, the client growth. But of course, with that kind of growth comes challenges, right? I mean, you can't get everything perfect on the first try, and when you grow that much, things happen that are suboptimal. So one of the ones that we sort of kicked ourselves about, and I warn other projects to not make this mistake, and it's we have so many core teams, like disparate teams building this thing, and it's actually kind of hard to coordinate all of us. We do our best, but like it's sort of like the double-edged sword of being a decentralized network is like you get like all this amazing growth coming from all these different corners of the world, but it is hard to coordinate, right? And so we had one of the nodes was running token compensation plans for folks in our community that, like people who screen talent, people who help out on Discord. And these folks were being paid basically hourly in token. And then, when the value of the cash value of the token like increases dramatically, those folks end up, being like really crazy compensated. which is just tough. It's tough for treasury, right? And so, we kind of, the core teams kind of put their heads together and revised it. And in like all the community members, that were involved were like super magnanimous and really like everyone did the right thing. But that was like, some near-term pain probably we could have avoided if we coordinated a little better. And then, of course, when you have a big network event like hitting mainnet, you're going to get attacks, and we got attacked lots. I mean, fortunately, like none of them were that serious. The site did go down for a while. Like there was some DDoS attacks on one of the nodes, as happens in this space. Nothing was stolen or lost, fortunately. And then finally, like, kind of as Gabe was alluding to earlier, like, when you have all this, all these when your community balloons from 50,000 to over 700,000, there's lots of questions, right? There's like people wanting to know, how do I withdraw tokens? How do I vote? How do I set up MetaMask? And, we did our best to sort of, create community help guides and guidelines and FAQs. But, it's when you get a tidal wave like that, some people are going to swallow some water. So that's what we did. But overall, like, pretty positive. I'm pretty proud of this huge network.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the other things that I think is worth noting was like, since 2018, like when it was just you and I with like this kind of crazy idea of like building a decentralized talent network, it always felt like pushing a ball up a hill, right? Like we were having to tell the story, and everyone just kind of was essentially kind of doubting that this was possible. And it feels like last quarter was the first time that shifted. Like I think we had 20 press outlets cover Braintrust. We had the Discord grow 14x, actually not over the whole quarter, but literally like in the period of about 3 weeks or so. And then obviously our Twitter following grew 90x. And so it seems like both the kind of the intersection of like Web3 and also like seeing these networks kind of operate at scale has definitely garnered quite a bit of attention. And it feels like, the network now has a life of its own, and it's taking its first breaths on its own, which is fantastic.
It definitely does have a life of its own. I mean, I laugh, I joke on Twitter sometimes, like I'm like sometimes the last person to know about stuff that's happening. Like I see we have these commercial nodes that Grady and Pierre run that bring all this new business in, and it's just like a wildfire spreading. So on that note, the core teams are building plans for just monstrous new things, protocol development in 2022 to really just continue this exponential growth, right? It's been an exponential year, and next year will be too. And so more on that, we want to kind of give that its own video. It's really kind of worth taking a few minutes there. So anyway, thanks for watching this.